How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today I'm going to show you how to do this in your world. What's going on here? Well, I've frozen all of these pigs here, and they're kind of permanently frozen. They're not going to thaw out anytime soon. There are limitations to doing this, but I'm going to get into how it's done in particular. So as you can see here, I'm using Willow. The main reason that I'm using Willow here is because number one, she has her lighter in single player, and it's an infinite lighter. You can leave it equipped all the time and it'll never run out. Granted, this is exclusive to single player, so Don't Starve Reign of Giants, Don't Starve Shipwrecked, and Don't Starve Hamlet at the moment. You cannot use this in Don't Starve together because things work a little bit differently. I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm just take my word for it. It doesn't work there. So I'm using Willow. You can use other characters, but what I'm going to point out here is that Willow has an infinite lighter, and she's also immune to fire. So if I drop a piece of grass here, light it on fire and stand on it as Willow, I'm not going to burn to death, right? And that's kind of useful when it comes to doing this. Now, you can use things like the scaled armor over here for normal characters, so that way you don't take fire damage, because this technique relies on being able to light yourself on fire, essentially. So, as you might have noticed here in my inventory, I've got a lot of grass put up, and you might be wondering what's the reason behind that. It's pretty simple. When you light something in your inventory on fire, like this grass, I am now on fire. Since I'm Willow, I'm not taking damage, but you'll notice if I stand next to this house here or anything else that's flammable, I will start that on fire. And that's pretty important for getting this result here that you see. I first noticed it when I was monkeying around with gunpowder and trying to set it off in my inventory. You can light pretty much anything that's in your inventory that's flammable, and you'll get that result. So it's pretty interesting. What you need to do to get started, and I'm going to, let's see here. Okay, next day. Let's actually, I'm going to do a rundown, and we're going to actually freeze a pig permanently. So here, I'm going to hit this pig twice. Now you'll notice she's frozen. What you have to do, you have to light something in your inventory, stand next to the pig until they mention that they're hurt. So it seems like when they get hurt by the fire, they kind of snap, you'll hear the ice sort of break, but it doesn't actually break. Instead, they remain frozen, and they'll be frozen forever. Or not really. Okay, so you might think this is ridiculously game-breaking. It is in some ways. Because, for example, I'm not sure, does this work? Yeah, okay. This pig here, I originally befriended it. You'll notice my sanity is going up very quickly now because this pig was a friend to me before it was frozen. Now, if you attack the pig, even if you attack it to freeze it, the pig will no longer be, let's say, tethered to you via it being a friend. But if you do something like drop grass on the ground, and that's why I have this fling-o-matic here, and you turn the fling-o-matic on, and then you light the grass, the fling-o-matic will put it out, and in the process will freeze mobs that are close to it. So that's one way to do it without an ice staff, and it's one way to do it without, it's a very cheap way to do it because you're not going to need to craft an ice staff or use one to make this short-term permanent freeze thing. So you'll notice the pig over here, I froze a little while ago, she's still frozen, right? She never came out of that state. And that's how you do it, and that's how you can sort of use it. For example, I haven't really experimented with a lot of things. It's something new that I just sort of stumbled across when I was playing the game, and I was monkeying around with gunpowder and grenades or coconades. But it seems like it has some interesting potential, especially for characters like Willow or for anybody who has the scale mail armor available to them as any other character. So what are the limitations of this? I've kind of hyped it up a lot. You can see how it could be useful, right? Well, for one thing, you can't use it on bosses. It doesn't appear this is something that you can do with a boss, so I'm just gonna briefly spawn in a tree guard here. All right, everybody here, just chill out and burn, okay? They're permanently frozen. Let's try to permanently freeze this guy. He acts as if, the boss acts as if it's been frozen, but the ice actually breaks on him. So you'll notice the pigs here, they're still frozen, but when you try to do it on larger mobs such as bosses, it's going to break. It could be as small as a tree guard or as large as Berger, The point being is that you cannot do this permanent freeze thing with any sort of boss, even the mid-tier ones like tree guards or spider queens. So that's one immediate limitation. The other limitation, and this is pretty big, if you log out of the game and then log back in, all of them will be unfrozen. So, for example, this is going to be something that's only useful as long as you remain in game. Once again, it is single player, it is in Hamlet, which means, you know, you could pause the game, walk away and do something else. But if you have to save and quit for whatever reason, or your game crashes, be aware that all of the potentially hardware work that went into freezing these mobs is going to be reverted. They're all going to become unfrozen. There's also some weird thing with spiders. I've done some testing on it. They're not a boss, but it seems like when they enter their sleeping state during the day, even if they were frozen before, they become unfrozen. I'm not exactly sure what it is, and I haven't pinned it down yet, but there are problems with spiders as well. So I imagine there are going to be all kinds of problems like this cropping up with different mobs depending upon their behavior. But as you can see here, it most certainly works with pigs, and you'll notice that when it comes evening, these guard pigs, who are currently aggressive towards me, you'll notice that they're making threats, even though they're still frozen permanently. They'll take their torches out. So you might be able to create like a little, like they could be guarding a path with light. I don't know. Kind of cool stuff you can do with this. And like I said before, you know, you can freeze them via traditional thing like an ice staff, or you could use something a little bit less costly like an ice flingomatic, providing that, you know, you provide something for the flingomatic to target, to throw the ice at, right? You light it up and frozen, just like that. And then I'll go ahead here, permafreeze you, it breaks, and we have another pig to add to our collection. These remind me a bit of those creatures in the Chronicles of Narnia, where the witch had frozen them, like Mr. Tumnus. It's kind of reminiscent of that, isn't it? So those are some of the limitations. That's how it works. Okay, you can see the lights came on, and those actually are real torches. So they bring their torches out during the evening. You can just see that kind of light hovering there. They're not actually holding a torch, but they act as if they'd brought their torches out when the evening rolls around. So I hope that gave you some ideas. This is just really weird. I don't really know what to make of it at this moment. It works in all the single player versions of Don't Starve so far. That's where I've tested it. It has limitations, like you can't use it on bosses. There's some mobs that don't allow you to like permanently freeze them. And of course, you're not going to be able to keep them permanently frozen forever, because when you restart the game, when you save and quit and then relog in, again, they're going to become unfrozen. But I think this has some pretty cool potential. And once again, is one of those things that I really love about Don't Starve is some of the very quirky and unintended mechanics of this game. The way systems can interact with each other in oftentimes unexpected and really niche and useful ways. Like this can come in handy for something, just having this in your arsenal. Also, you will need something like scale mail, because at the moment I haven't figured out, I don't know, maybe you can light them on fire without it needing to be in your inventory, but at the moment I've been lighting things in my inventory to make this work. So if you just throw something on the ground and light it, it might deal too much damage to the mob, and I think they come out of that state. Let's try it here once. I think they come out of the burning state because it deals too much damage to them or something. Maybe not. You might be able to do it then even without a character that... Let's try it. Okay, freeze. Let's try doing it outside the inventory. Bollocks to you, good sir. Okay, there, he broke, and... Yeah, that seems to work, okay. I guess we're going to go back to the drawing board, huh? Well, there you go. Still learning stuff in real time. So I'm not going to re-record this. I could potentially do that. I'll just put as a caveat here, you don't actually have to light things in your inventory on fire to make this work. That just kind of makes it a little bit easier. Anybody, you know, you can just basically light things like random stuff on the ground, grass, manure, whatever it is, and it'll also freeze them like this. So I imagine somebody has stumbled on this before, but I don't know who, and this is like the first time I've really done any experimenting with it. So I hope that gives you some ideas. This is the closest you'll get to like permanently freezing mobs in Don't Starve single player. So thank you very much for watching as always, and hope to see you next time.